Bishop Zondo is now talking conspiracies.
Judge,
The judge
e se itlisetswa ditaba ke batho
now gets information from people
hore atle le masole. But batho bana ba tshwereng di automatic rifles.
to
Ba
bring
kana ba di tshwere
the
tjena ka mora hlo ya ka. Ka
or
morao.
people holding these machines to bring them to put them behind my head.
Jwale ke a botsa manje kwenzakalani la?
Then I ask, what is happening
I
here?
see.
And the head
Jwale
of the security.
the intelligence se di yang ho judge dire beef up security.
Now the intelligence
Ho tlo ba
committee now
hobe
goes to
mona.
the judge and says, "Tisa batho ba ileng hore bona ke ba lebedi because it's going to be
Ke
bad
tshwanetse o
here."
leboha Modimo.
Now I need to thank God.
Hoba number 1,
Hobane ntho ya
I
pele,
believe re bane ba bileditswe to do something to me.
I believe they were called to etsa ntho e itseng ho nna
Ka di rifle tsa bona.
with their big guns.
He's saying that there is a conspirations. There's a lot of conspirations that are happening around his case. This happened a couple of days back. The bishop was speaking at his church to his people, and he said a lot. He said a lot about the judge. I was like this is very interesting. The first thing that he mentioned was something that I don't know exactly where he's getting it from, so don't quote me on that. He says that the judge said that he was guilty. That's the first thing we're going to talk about. And then he says that there were police officers who carried rifles into the court that he believes they were there to do something. So, like I said, sounds like there's a lot of conspirations that are happening. Let us listen in, and then I'll be back here to speak concerning this.
Ya court.
I'm going to court.
Judge ya itseng ke molato.
The judge that said I was guilty,
Ya njajitseng.
the one that
A re
judged
ke
me
molato, a
and
rena
said
ha
I
tjho
was
jwalo.
guilty, now comes back and says he never said that.
Eya.
Yes.
Bona, o ske wa nana hore TV e tla hlahisa ntho e jwalo.
Don't think it will appear on TV that
Because
thing,
e tla hlahisa state hampe.
because it will make the state appear badly.
A re yena ha tjho jwalo.
She said she never said that.
Ha ne ke go yena. Wena o ka se be mona on judge.
When I
Hoba
said
o
to him,
sontso o qetile.
you will never be my judge because you have already concluded.
A re no,
A re tjhe,
ha ke no tswa.
I will not
Hobane nna ke soka
leave
ke wa hlola.
because I have not
Nka
given
wa
my
hlola jwang
judgment.
ke soka ke utlwa o bua.
How can I pass
ke
my
yona ntho eno
judgment
ke
having
bua.
not heard your side of the story? And I said, that's exactly what I meant to say.
Jwale ka o tseba he dipampiri tsa South Africa
But now you know, because the South African newspapers or
di
media,
tlamehile hore di o bue hampe
they need to ill speak
hore batho ba
about
tle ba
you
kgone ho kgotsofala.
so that people can be satisfied.
And nna ke soka ke re ke hana ho ya kena le boxing. Ha ke a tjho jwalo nna, ke itse ke
never
batla
said-
ho ya.
I've
E
never
seng
said
hobane ke
I don't want to be in the
ke
box or
kolota
give
court
the side of my
explanation.
story. I said I owe
Ke
the
batla ho bua
court
mo
explanation.
lefatshe le mmametseng
I
teng.
said I want to be in a place where when I tell my story, the entire world will be listening to me.
Charity show, daily Christian commentary videos. Without further ado, so this is the first thing that the bishop says. Now, I'm not sure exactly where that particular quotation is. Maybe it's in every other thing that the judge said, but based on the information that is available for me as a public thing, I was not in the court that day. The judge didn't say, based on what I see, the judge didn't say he was guilty.
Judge ya itseng ke molato.
The judge that said I was guilty,
Ya njajitseng.
the one that
A re
judged
ke
me
molato, a
and
re yena
said
ha
I
tjho
was
jwalo.
guilty.
There's nowhere the judge said that. Nowhere. There's nowhere where the judge said Bishop Zondo was guilty. You can't wait to get on the stage and say your story. This is the right time. You know, we're now running, because he's supposed to be there by now. But now we are now running appeals because the judge must recuse himself and whatnot. Because why? because of a certain 3-word thingy that the judge said. I think he said that the information was credible, reliable, and trustworthy. And so those are the words that the judge made. He wasn't speaking about Zondo. He was saying that the information that has been handed over, meaning from the system of analysis that he is on his disposal. You'll remember Professor Gerald, who is part of the SAPS. He's a, what do you call them, clinical psychologist.
So at the end of the incident in the office, the accused said to her, "Sissy, thank you so much for trusting me with your body." What is your opinion on that?
My Lord, in terms of communicating in the phone call afterwards, that God had communicated with him, would again be reinforcing the special status that such a person has with God.
He came and he gave an analysis of Bishop Zondo's. He asked, interrogated what, and got to analyze without biasism on what happened. He tried to get information concerning the things, the people that are saying they're victims and what. And from what he said, oh yeah, this sounds like it's very deep-rooted. This does not sound like an isolated case. It sounds like there is a character in the events. That's the way that he portrayed it. He said there is clearly something to be followed up concerning what these women are reporting. And so, and when the judge therefore hears what a clinical psychologist, a professional man who is not biased, nothing, not functioning under conspiracy, doing his job as a clinical psychologist, who studies this particular thing and who understands criminal mindset, all those type of things. So when he studies all these things and the details that were given to him, he said, no, there definitely is a character here. So when the judge says the information is reliable, okay, it's trustworthy, he's not saying anything about whether you are innocent or guilty. He is saying that based on you see, they brought in professional people to analyze the whole thing. So what does the judge say? The judge says, this is the information that the victims give. This is what the professional sees from it. So the judge can't see in the fog of everything thingy. He deals with things as they are presented before him. And based on what he has seen from the clinical psychologist, he can trust what has been put forward. What he needs now is you to put forward your part of the story. Like you're saying, like you're thinking. He hasn't said you were guilty.
The judge that said I was guilty, the one that judged me and said I was guilty, now comes back and says he never said that.
He didn't say Bishop Zondo was guilty. He said nothing about that. He said the information, the evidence that was put forward before him, he finds there is a character, there is a being somewhere inside here. So from a professional, he takes that information. This does not sound like it's fabricated. And the clinical psychologist agrees with that idea. So the information is not being dealt only from a person who's supposedly cooking it. Okay? There is now a character that has been spotted from a professional's perspective. So when the judge says that, it says nothing about Zondo. It says what evidence has been handed over to professionals. He didn't say Zondo is guilty.
I'm satisfied that Mrs. Evidence passes the test despite the incident having occurred more than 40 years ago. The majority of the complainants satisfied that after being the accused, they saw him laughing and making such remarks as, "Thank you for entrusting me with your body."
in the office, the accused said to her, "Sissy, thank you so much for trusting me with your body." What is your opinion on that?
My Lord, in terms of communicating in the phone call afterwards, that God had communicated with him, would again be reinforcing the special status that such a person has with God.
The judgment followed after I determined the principle of cautionary rules to be applied in determining the evidence of a single witness, after I was called upon by the ACE to apply cautionary rules for the fact that the complainants were single witnesses. Issue of the motive of the complainants to falsely implicate him in the commission of the alleged offences is not present in the section 774 judgment. I do not understand why the applicant is making such an affirmation, as such cannot stand as a ground of objective appreciation or bias on my side.
What is presented to the court by the victims to professionals has been tested here. Now, the thing is, does it put you in the story? That's where, when your testimony comes in, it will tell him that the information as it stands, there is a character. Does this sound like there is a person here? Does it sound like there was someone who did this? When the judge looks at that, when the professionals look at that, they say, no, something is up here. So reliable is testing information independently. Right? When he says reliable, he's talking independently testing the information. When he says trustworthy, the system, when you bring a clinical psychologist, this is not a made up thing. Something is up here. There's a character in play. There's a language. There's a language here. There's a character in all of this thing. And from that professional side, the word trustworthy can be drawn from. Credible now just comes in as a... Now remember, the judge reads these things. He will write down what he thinking. So when they said no, they want to dismiss the cases, the judge goes and he writes down his decision. And he comes out and he reads it. Is that, so those words, you have to put them within the context at which they actually fall. And the context at which they fall is that independently given, professionally tested. Is there a leak? No, that's what the judge is testing. He hasn't put you in the story. You are not in the story. Thou shalt not condemn thyself. Yeah, no, the judge didn't say that. Based on what I see publicly. The judge didn't say that. The judge said the information, when we test it, yeah, it's not cooked. It doesn't have you. It doesn't have you. When we test this question and question this information, when we listen to the testimonies, when we listen to the clinical psychologists, when we look at the language similarities, whatnot, all these things, there's a lot that they consider before they come to a decision. And so when we test all of that, reliable. He's not saying you are guilty. Reliability is in the testimony. Tell me down in the comment section your thoughts through that, and be very interested in hearing your thoughts on that. And I'll see you on the next episode. After this one, it will be down in the pinned comment, so yeah, check it out. Let's be very clear what the judge said.